Hello, fellow Panthers, and today on PVMU News, we'll be discussing Physical Science Chapter 2. My name is Bailey Smith, and I'll be reporting to you live talking about forces. What is a force, you may ask? A force is a quantitative description of an interaction that causes a change in an object's motion. So, the word problem we have today is what net force is needed to give a 40-kilogram grocery cart an acceleration of 2.4 meters per second squared. So since we are talking about force, the formula for force is force equals mass times acceleration. So dissecting that word problem when we're looking, we have a mass of 40 kilograms and an acceleration of 2.4 meters per second squared. And we're trying to find our force. So since we don't know what our force is, I'm going to just bring down the F. So our mass, which is the 40 kilograms, and our acceleration is 2.4 meters per second squared. And since the m and the a are next to each other, we're going to be multiplying. So 40 multiplied by 2.4 gives us 96. But since we're talking about force, our units will be in newtons. Thanks for listening to my segment, and now passing it on to JoJo.
Hello there, this is JoJo Milgrave with your PVAMU News. As we heard from Belly today, we are learning all about forces. Belly gave you a nice definition about forces, but today I'm here to talk to you about the Newton laws of motion. And I am JoJo Milgrave and we're giving to you the first law of motion. So, what's Newton's first law of motion? He said that when an object stays still, it will stay still unless acted upon by somebody. So if I'm here, I will stand still unless someone comes to hit me. That right there was Newton's first law of motion. So let's put it to work. What's Newton's first law of motion? For instance, if we have balls hanging on something, they'll keep on hanging right here until we have a force competing. And that right here defines Newton's first law of motion. Thank you, folks. Moving on to Bria for the second law of motion. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bria, and I'm reporting live with PVMU News. And on this segment, we will be talking about Newton's second law of motion, which states that the acceleration of an object is directly proportional to the net force acting on it and inversely proportional to the mass of the object. So the equation for this second law is force equals mass times acceleration. It could equal acceleration equals force divided by mass, or mass could equals force divided by acceleration. An example of this would be a 1,200 kilogram car accelerates at 20.2 meters over second squared. How much extra force was applied? So the first step would be to figure out your units and what is applied to those units. So we know that the mass is equal to 1,200 kilograms. The acceleration is equal to 20.2 meters over second squared, and the force we do not know. So the second step would be to plug in the numbers that we got, and also since we are multiplying, we will multiply the units, which will give us newtons. So the third step will be after we multiply these two, I got 24,240, and since the unit we got was newtons, that's the unit that will be applied. And this concludes this segment on PVMU News. I'm out.
Hi, my name is Michael, and welcome to this segment of PVMU News. And in this segment, we'll be discussing Newton's third law of motion. Newton's third law of motion states that forces occur in matched pairs, and that each force must be equal in magnitude, but opposite in direction. So, this means that if I push down on this desk, I'm creating a downward force but the desk is creating an opposite in direction force that is also equal in magnitude. So, this question, when a baseball hits a bat with a force of 25 newtons, what would be the force that the bat applies to the ball? Well, as shown here, the forces must be equal, meaning that if the force of the ball is 25 newtons, then the force of the bat must be negative 25 newtons. But it also states that these forces must be in opposite directions. So it means that if the ball is applying force to the right, then the bat must be applying force to the left. Same goes in the opposite direction. If the ball is applying force to the left, the bat must be applying a force to the right. That is all I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching PVAMU News. Next up will be Sydney for the final segment.
Going to you live to talk to you about the law of gravitation. The law of gravitation states that every object in the universe is attracted to every other object with a force that is directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. So as you can see right here, the law of gravitation, the equation equals F equals G times M1 times M2 divided by D squared. So right here we have the G as 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11 N times M squared divided by kg squared. And both M1 and M2, they're 60 kg. The distance is 1 meter and we're trying to find F. So when you plug this into the equation, it will look like 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11 N times M squared divided by kg squared times 60 kg times 60 kg divided by 1 meter squared. So when you multiply and divide everything out, you're left with 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11 times 3.6 times 10 to the third power. And then your units right here would be N times M squared divided by kg squared divided by kg squared divided by M squared. And with the units, the M's and the M squares and the kg squared, they were canceled out because they will equal 1. And you're left with N. And so once you multiply these two numbers, you're left with 2.40 times 10 to the negative 7 N. Thank you for watching. I'm Sydney Keller, and I'm signing off. The law of gravitation states that F equals G over M1 times M2 divided by the distance squared. So say you're trying to find F. G equals 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11 N times M squared divided by kg squared. Both masses M1 and M2 equals 60 kg. And the distance is 1 meter. So when you put this in the equation, it will be 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11 N times M squared over kg squared times 60 kg times 60 kg over 1 meter square. So once you add and divide everything, you're left with 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11 times 3.4 times 10 to the power of 3. Then the units will be N times M squared divided by kg squared divided by kg squared divided by M squared. So the M's and the kg's, they cross out. And so your units will be in newtons. So once you multiply this out, you're left with 2.40 times 10 to the power of negative 7 newtons.
And this is how you find the law of gravitation. Thank you for watching, and this is Sydney Keller signing off.